For anyone that used the Gray Rock method long term, right, in a relationship, even if it was just for a year, the final year of a relationship, to get yourself together, to kind of stop engaging in the behaviors that the toxic person basically would push you towards, anyone that was in that situation winds up afterward in dissociation. When you feel dissociated, you feel very disconnected from your feelings, which makes sense if you've been turning them off for a really long time. How do you break out of that dissociation? For those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a trauma-informed coach, I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, and I'm the founder of the School of Transformation, which is a monthly membership where I meet live on Zoom every week with survivors from all over the world, and we learn how to embody everything that I talk about on this channel. In other words, it's not enough to just have the information in your mind. We have to learn how to embody the healing journey, and that's what we do in the School of Transformation. So if this is a resource you think that might be helpful, make sure you check out the links above. Well, think about physically. If I turn off the light in this room and then I regret that the light is off and I want the light back on, it's not enough for me to wish that the light went back on. I have to physically go over and turn that switch on. Emotionally, something similar happens. In order to get to that dissociative state, you had to actively turn off your feelings. They didn't just turn off on their own. You took part in turning them off. So by doing that, you were changing, and it was effective, right? It was a coping skill that worked at the moment. Maybe it helped you as you were gathering your strength to decide what you needed to do, but now it's a coping skill that's maladaptive because it's keeping you prisoner inside. The way to break free from dissociation is to actively start turning yourself on, which is kind of strange. It sounds silly. You would think that it would normally just come back on, but it doesn't, because the abuse that happens when you are with somebody like a narcissist or a psychopath, the abuse that happens, what it does to your brain is very similar to what happens to somebody when they have a physical stroke. It's very interesting when you start learning about how the brain functions under trauma. When a person has a physical stroke, the only way to overcome it is to actively do those things in small ways. They start out with simple things like moving a block from here to here. They can't move half of their body. And sometimes somebody has to help them until their brain starts to see that connection again. And sometimes it takes a while for their mind-body connection to start kicking on again. Well, emotionally, we have to do things like that on an emotional level. If there was something that we loved in the past, we can't expect ourselves to just automatically love it because we have trained ourselves not to show that love. So our brain's not going to go there because it thinks it's keeping you safe. So you have to actually start in small steps in taking part in things that you love and then taking the time to reflect on how it felt. So I'm going to give you a small example of how to do that when it comes to your passions. Okay. So in my case, there was a time where I was in a relationship with somebody toxic that hated any time I spent time in something that I loved, including something as simple and small as reading a book. Okay. I would if that person came home, I would slide the book under the bed as if it were my lover, as if I'm hiding this big secret that, I shouldn't be doing. Well, with enough time, doing that long enough, and then hiding my love of reading long enough, I lost that love. So I had to actually start in small increments and read something for a minute. Something that I would love to read in the past, read it, pause, and then tell myself something positive like, Michele, I'm really glad that you're getting back to this passion. You loved this. This was something as a kid, when you were punished, you weren't allowed to read. Who gets grounded and not be allowed to read? Only someone that loves it. It's so nice to see that you love yourself enough to give yourself this passion, to spend time in this passion again. So yeah, it might sound like a lot of internal dialogue, but if you are not actively generating that kind of internal dialogue, trust me, you have internal dialogue, but it's probably the internalized voice of the person that caused you to hate to do your passions in the first place. So think about where the dissociation is affecting you. Is it affecting your happiness level? Reflect on your personal life. What made you happy in the past? What's a small thing you could do today that would help you to start bringing that back into your life? So you have to recognize it. You have to actively bring it back into your life, and then you have to pause and reflect on how good it felt to be able to do that once again. And you have to encourage yourself and give yourself positive feedback on that so that it combats that internalized negative voice of the other person. And then it's just consistency. Just like you did to turn off, you had to consistently teach yourself how until it became habit. That's what we have to do to turn on and to break out of that dissociation. We have to be consistent. Anytime we find ourselves in that dissociative state, the biggest mistake would be to get angry. Okay, because when we're angry at something that we're doing and we're angry at a behavior that we're trying to change, it actually creates resistance. And it's harder to let go of that negative behavior that we're trying to change. So if you happen to notice that you dissociate, right? Or you're dissociated and you're noticing, rather than getting angry, a much more powerful thing is to make friends with your subconscious programming. Okay, your subconscious no longer lets you get out of that dissociative state because it learned that that was where you were safe. So technically, it's trying to help you. It thinks it's helping you. If you get mad at it, it only causes a negative response associated with the behavior you're wanting to change, and it clings harder to the coping skill that you're trying to overcome. Okay, so rather than getting mad, make friends with it and say, you know what? I see that I dissociated, or I am dissociated. I understand why. I dissociate because my mind now thinks that I'm safe only in this dissociative state. It thinks it's helping me. I get it. I understand why it's happening, but I'm safe now. I'm completely safe. What can I do to show myself that I am safe while allowing myself to feel? So a lot of it, as you can tell, has to do with our inner dialogue. So those are some tips on how to start breaking out of dissociation. And of course, if it's something that is severely affecting you, then get help. There's no shame in getting help. Okay, so what is a better alternative than gray rock? Obviously, we can't go no contact with these individuals that are in our life all the time, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a boss, whether it is a family member that we see a lot, or a significant other that at this moment we are in this relationship and we're not leaving this relationship at this moment. What's the alternative? If no contact isn't possible and gray rock isn't healthy, what can we do? In my face-to-face coaching, I always encourage my clients to do something called go no negative emotional contact. Okay, it's kind of long. It's not as fancy as gray rock, but what it means is you can't go gray rock, but you can stop giving negative emotion. Okay, so the purpose of the toxic person is to get you to feel angry, scared, resentful, guilty, sad, unlovable. In other words, anything negative. That's their whole goal. With gray rock, not only do you not allow yourself to feel those negative emotions, but you also turn off your positive ones. Well, I don't think that's fair. I don't think anybody should have the power to cause you to erase yourself just so that they can finally stop feeding off of you and move on to someone else. I just think that that's not only unhealthy, but it's just, I don't know. Okay, so when you go no negative emotional contact, you still have contact with them, right? You're not avoiding contact, but you are removing the negative factor that they feed off of. So what that looks like, let's just say I have a toxic parent, right? And my toxic parent calls me and they bring up topics and they're pushing my buttons to try to get me to be upset. Well, no negative emotional contact is to remain happy. No one should have the power to turn off your happiness, right? So you remain happy. You can apply a one sentence statement if you want, such as, well, thanks for sharing your input with me. I appreciate, you sharing your thoughts. And then you either change the subject or you let them know that you have to go, but without any anger, frustration, or anything. You do it happy and content because you are a happy and content person, right? You don't allow somebody to take that from you. So what does this do with a toxic person? I do want to say that if you feel like your life is in danger, none of these tools should be used. You need to leave. You need to get to safety, okay? So obviously this is not something you want to do if you feel in danger. However, if you don't feel like you're in danger, what will happen if you start doing this, where you stay happy? Where the toxic person insults you when you say something like, well, you're allowed to view me that way if that's how you choose, but you stay grounded and you stay confident in who you are and you stay happy. Or they devalue you at work and try to take credit for something that you did. And you're able to respond in a way that shows calmness, confidence, that shows a sense of peace, where you're not, you're completely grounded, where their emotions, or their reactions, I should say, are not causing you to lose sight of who you are. What's going to happen? They're going to get angry at first. It doesn't get better and better. It gets worse before it gets better, in the sense that, okay, most of the times when these toxic people are trying to get supply from you, it's because they're running out of their own good feelings. They don't have any inside. They don't have any healthy energy inside. So they need to put you down, see that it works in order to inhale your energy, so to speak. So when you don't give it to them, it's like now they're in a room where there's no oxygen, and their mask has been taken off, and they can't breathe, right? So they're going to maybe be a little bit nastier. Maybe they're going to target you, in a sense, a little bit more, but they will leave a whole lot faster because of two things. One, narcissists do hate boredom, right? They don't like to see that somebody can't give them supply. So it's the same effect as the gray rock. They don't like that. They can't feed off of you and take your positive energy and give you their negative energy. On top of that, you make the narcissist feel absolutely powerless. And there's nothing that they fear more or hate more is to feel powerless. So that's why this is a better alternative, because it has similar reactions as the gray rock, except that in the beginning, the narcissist isn't going to understand why you're still happy. And they're going to say things like, why are you so happy? And yeah, you think you're so this or that, or they're going to try to figure out where you found this inner strength that they no longer have the ability to penetrate. So they are going to test it. But if you consistently do this, it will have the same results as gray rock, except there are no negative side effects for this one. You get to stay you. You feel empowered. You feel like you are consistently being you, allowing yourself to be you so you don't dissociate. And there's a sense of self-respect and pride when you're able to handle it this way. So whether you do gray rock or if you go no negative emotional contact is really up to you. But weigh the pros and cons and then make your own personal educated decision on what you feel is best for you.